You've probably built a retirement number in your head, a target you hope will mean security. But there's a hidden gap between that number and the monthly reality it unlocks. The truth is, a portfolio isn't just a lump sum. It's a living financial organism, and the amount you can safely spend from it each year is governed by its own internal metabolism. Today, we're going to move beyond the static target and learn how to calculate your portfolio's sustainable heartbeat. Forget rules of thumb for a moment. We're going to install a new internal system, the Withdrawal Protocol. This is the set of calibrated rules your money follows to generate income without consuming its core. We'll personify your portfolio as a goose, and the income it generates as the golden eggs. The entire goal of retirement planning is to feed and protect the goose so it can lay eggs indefinitely, never finding yourself facing the prospect of cooking the bird. Most people focus only on the size of the goose, but the real mastery is in understanding its precise laying rate. Let's meet our first goose, tended by a retiree named Elias. Elias has worked hard and saved $500,000. He's heard of the 4% rule, which suggests he could take out $20,000 in his first year of retirement. But that number, in the cold light of day, brings a wave of anxiety. $20,000 a year on top of Social Security? That's not a protocol, that feels like a hope. The anxiety comes from seeing the portfolio as a shrinking pile, not a living system. So let's activate the protocol. The foundational principle isn't a percentage, it's a sequence of 3 decisions. First, you define the core capital, the principle that must be preserved to fight inflation and market downturns. This is the goose itself. Second, you set the sustainable yield, the realistic, repeatable percentage it can produce in income and measured growth. This is the egg-laying rate. Third, and most critically, you establish the harvesting rhythm, the flexible method for taking your eggs without startling the goose. Let's apply this to Elias's $500,000. We'll assume a conservative but realistic sustainable yield of 3.5% for his balanced portfolio. The protocol's calculation is simple but profound. Core capital, $500,000, times sustainable yield, 3.5%, equals annual harvest, $17,500. That's his starting point. But the harvesting rhythm adjusts this. In a market up year, he might take the $17,500 strictly. In a down year, the protocol might instruct him to take only 3% or just the dividends to let the goose recover. This isn't failure, it's the system working as designed, prioritizing longevity over rigid payout. The size of your portfolio doesn't change the protocol, it changes the math your life is built on. Now, let's scale the system and see how different sizes of core capital transform the monthly reality. We'll run 4 portfolios through the protocol using that 3.5% sustainable yield, but remember, this yield is a dial you can adjust based on your own risk tolerance and portfolio mix. First, the $250,000 goose. Core capital, $250,000, times yield, 3.5%, equals $8,750 per year, or about $730 per month. This is often a supplemental layer, a crucial boost to other income like Social Security or a part-time pension. The harvesting rhythm here is vital, as this smaller goose has less resilience. Next, Elias's $500,000 gives us that $17,500 a year, or roughly $1,458 a month. This starts to look like a meaningful monthly paycheck from your investments. At $1 million, the protocol outputs $35,000 annually, which breaks down to about $2,917 per month. This is where the psychological shift often happens. This income stream can cover core living expenses for many. Finally, the $2 million portfolio. Core capital, $2 million, times yield, 3.5%, equals $70,000 per year, or approximately $5,833 per month. This is a transformative level of financial autonomy, but a higher yield dial doesn't mean a richer life, it often means a riskier organism. Notice I keep using 3.5%, not the often cited 4%. This is the first lever of the protocol, calibrating your sustainable yield. A 4% yield on a $1 million portfolio gives you $40,000 a year. A 3% yield gives you $30,000. That's a $10,000 annual difference in your lifestyle. Why would anyone choose lower? Because the yield dial is directly connected to the health of the goose. A higher sustained withdrawal rate increases the statistical chance of depleting your core capital over a 30-year retirement. You are asking the goose to lay more eggs, more consistently, which strains its system during lean years. Let's visualize this with two retirees and their $1 million portfolios, using our goose and golden eggs framework. Cora sets her protocol to a 4.5% sustainable yield, seeking $45,000 per year. Mateo sets his to 3.25%, planning for $32,500. The difference seems stark, but in year one of a market downturn, Cora's higher harvest, taken from a now smaller portfolio, does lasting damage to her core capital. Her goose is weakened. Mateo's lower harvest acts as a shock absorber. His goose retains more strength to recover when markets rebound. Over a decade, through cycles, Mateo's conservative starting yield may actually allow his total annual income to grow larger than Cora's, because his untouched, recovering core capital is growing a larger base. Your spending rate isn't a budget line. It's a vital sign for your entire financial future. This is the psychological pivot. You are not a spender drawing down a pile. You are a steward managing a productive system. The fear of running out of money is replaced by the confidence of monitoring a system's health. You check not your bank balance, but the three dials. Is the core capital being preserved against inflation? Is my sustainable yield still realistic? Does my harvesting rhythm need a seasonal adjustment? This is the operational logic of the withdrawal protocol. Now, let's get brutally practical and build your personal protocol. You don't need $1 million to start. You need the framework. Step 1. Calculate your projected core capital at retirement. Be realistic. Step 2. Assign your sustainable yield. For most beginners, using 3.5% as a planning benchmark is a prudent, system-focused choice. Step 3. Run the calculation. This is your foundational annual income estimate from investments. Step 4. Layer on your guaranteed income, Social Security, any pensions. This combination is your retirement paycheck. Step 5. Practice the harvesting rhythm mentally now. If your portfolio dropped 15% in a year, could you temporarily reduce your take by 10 to 20%? That mental rehearsal is system training. The final and most important step is to internalize that this number is not a ceiling, but a baseline generated by the system's metabolism. The protocol's output, that $17,500 or $35,000, is the system's whisper telling you the safest, most sustainable rhythm. Ignoring it to chase a higher lifestyle is like forcing a larger egg. It risks the long-term health of the source. But understanding it empowers you to make conscious choices within the system's design. Let's see the protocol in action over time, because a system is defined by its behavior under pressure. We'll follow a single portfolio of $750,000 over a volatile 5-year period. This is where the harvesting rhythm proves its worth. Year 1. The market is up 10%. Our sustainable yield is set to 3.5%. The protocol calculates a harvest of $26,250. The retiree, let's call her Anya, takes this amount. Her core capital, after the harvest, actually grows because the market growth outpaced what she took out. The goose is well fed. Year 2. The market drops 12%. This is the test. A rigid 4% rule adherent would take out $30,000, 4% of the initial $750,000, further depleting a wounded portfolio. But Anya's withdrawal protocol has a built-in response, the flexible harvest clause. She temporarily reduces her take to 3% of the current lower portfolio value. Instead of $30,000, she might take $21,500. It's a tighter year, but the system's priority is preservation. Year 3, a recovery year of 8% growth. Anya doesn't immediately spike her spending back up. She returns gently to the 3.5% yield on the now recovering capital. The protocol isn't about restriction, it's about building a system that can breathe with the market. After these 3 turbulent years, Anya's core capital is likely in a stronger position than the rigid withdrawers. She has protected the egg-laying capacity of her future. This is the ultimate psychological relief. You have a plan for the bad years, not just a budget for the good ones. The system manages the fear for you. Now, let's synthesize this into your personal blueprint, moving from abstract protocol to your first actionable calculation. Your blueprint starts today. First, name your targets. Don't just say, I need $1 million. Say, my goal is to build a core capital of X dollars that, under a 3.5% sustainable yield, generates Y dollars in annual income. This frames the goal as an income-generating system, not a trophy number. Second, run the now versus later calculation. Take your current retirement savings, multiply it by 3.5%. See the annual income it generates today. That stark, small number is your most powerful motivator. It shows the gap your future contributions must fill. Third, practice the rhythm with your current investments. If you have a $10,000 IRA, mentally apply the 3.5% yield. That's $350 a year it could sustainably generate. Watch how that hypothetical harvest changes as your account fluctuates. This trains the system thinking muscle. Finally, revisit your yield dial annually. As you get closer to retirement, your sustainable yield percentage may change based on your life expectancy and risk tolerance. The system isn't static. It's a living framework you adjust with intention. We began by revealing the gap between a lump sum and a living income. We installed the withdrawal protocol, personifying your portfolio as a productive organism that requires careful stewardship. We saw how different sizes of core capital translate into monthly reality, not through magic, but through the consistent math of a sustainable yield. We witnessed how the flexible harvest clause within the protocol acts as a shock absorber, protecting your future during market storms. The answer to, how much can I spend, is no longer a guess. It is the output of a system you now understand and control. You are not waiting to see how long your money lasts. You are calibrating the heartbeat of your financial independence. The number on your screen is no longer just a balance. It is the core of a living system, designed to support you for life. Your portfolio isn't a pile of money to be spent. It is your most dedicated employee, clocking in for decades, and now you know exactly how to manage its paycheck.
The single best financial decision you can make right now? Invest in your financial education. Hit subscribe to get our next breakdown and turn on notifications so you don't miss out, because the system only works if you apply it consistently. I'll see you in the next one.